I was just saying Doris is not Dan. I was just saying Doris is not feeling well, so she's probably not joining us. And Ariel, I'm not sure. So we will. Let me just give a quick roadmap, and then we'll get to what you guys did for over 2 weeks here. All right, so we are week 5 of 8, still on nutrition here. And we're going to do a little bit of share how implementation went. We're going to talk about being mindful. We're going to talk about amino acids and enzymes, which is something new that I've thrown into the course for this cohort. So happy to hear some feedback and excited to share that. And we're going to talk a little bit about eating organic and a few other miscellaneous kind of topics. And I just wanted, before I forget, on Thursday for Q&A, Eva's graciously, what's the word I'm looking for? Accepted the challenge, and she's filled out her food log, and she is open for me to go through it, her food log with the group, again, just as a teaching moment, as a learning exercise of then how you can sort of analyze and might look at your own food logs if you've done them. So that'll be on Thursday. So, and again, thank you, Eva, for that. So I love to hear, how did the last 2 weeks go for you? What did you implement? What did you change? Any conversations you had, communities you deleted or added, nutrition, water, what have you?
Yeah, I was cognizant of drinking more water those 2 weeks. And even though it didn't look so great on those 2 weeks, there was definitely improvement. So, I was picking some of the days a little bit healthier than I typically would. And I actually got out for a couple of walks and, things like that. Yeah, so slowly getting into it. There's a few wins there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to celebrate those wins. And it's not about being perfect, it's about making small incremental changes over time
Right.
that we can stick to. And then as we stack them all, these little things that seem like not a big deal, but next thing you know, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, you're like, whoa, look, you don't even recognize yourself, or
Right.
not only from a physical point of view, but also a mental and philosophical, spiritual, etc., as well, type of thing. So that's awesome. That's awesome, Eva.
Yeah.
How about, just before I get thrown it down, just because you mentioned water, I was
Yes.
talking with a colleague and friend yesterday, and they were telling me about their partner who's, I forget what it was called now, basically a water challenge. So no caffeine, no alcohol for 90 days. So okay. I don't know if I could do the caffeine thing, maybe, but the alcohol, that's not a big deal. But the other part of it is that they had to do, for every pound of body weight, you cut it in half, and then you do that many ounces in water. So her partner is like, roughly 200 pounds. So cut that in half. He has to do like 100 ounces of water a day. And he's like, he's finding it challenging. And I was like, oh, I don't think I do that much if I do that same thing. So anyway, I'm not just saying, bringing it up as like, oh, that's a good thing, and that's one thing to try. I was just like, I just bring it up as like, we need to drink more water, I think, generally. And I'm myself too feeling a little bit dehydrated right now myself. So anyway, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to share that. So Dan or Melissa, how did your last couple of weeks go of implementation?
Yeah, I've been, working out and every day almost. But I think the eating thing, I have to still figure out. Like I tracked it a little bit, like not everything, but yeah, I think I'm just eating too much. And then, I tend to just grab some, some chocolate or some snacks or, stuff like that, like just to kind of keep me going in the afternoon. And I don't know. So yeah, I'm still working on eating. Like,
Okay. Well, I think the big takeaway that I hear from what you're saying, Melissa, is they're cognizant of it, of like, you know, celebrating the win of, the exercise, the movement, and then being able, and then also let's celebrate, maybe it's not exactly where you want it to be, but like being cognizant of that you are trying to make some choices. And then sometimes when it's not what you necessarily want it to be, but they're like, hey, be okay with that, and like forgive yourself, and like not forgive, like not beat ourselves up about it, and just like make the next choice better or the next day better. So awesome.
yeah,
I started working out every morning with the kids. So that's been kind of my big change is just me and the kids will do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and we have some bands that Melissa's dad bought. So we've been using those. So that's been good in the mornings. I would say the part that I still want to work on that I haven't worked on is the meditation time. So I haven't still stopped for like 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day or 2 minutes a day and just kind of stopped and like just been quiet or just been still. And I think that's one thing that I'm missing that I really need to start doing. So today has reminded me that I need to do that. But the food stuff has actually been going better. I've been trying not to eat before about 5 or so, and that's been going pretty well. Most days I don't eat, sometimes it's like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, but many times like yesterday it was not till 5 o'clock. So that's one thing I'm trying to do. I'm not making wonderful choices after 5 o'clock, so I could probably do that better. But I don't know. I've made more changes this time than I did last time, so I'm heading in the right direction.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dan. So couple things here. So as the last thing. So what I hear you saying is that since we talked about fasting, like the week or last week we had class or the week before, I can't remember now. Sounds like you've really extended your fast. Because you were kind of doing, if I remember correct me if I'm wrong, you were doing about roughly 2 meals a day, and now you're basically doing like 1 meal a day. Is that right? Am I understand that correctly?
Basically, I was doing until noon. Now I'm
Okay.
trying to do it until 5.
Okay.
But I'm not sure I would say it's 1 meal a day. It's more like I eat at 5 or 6, but then I'm still eating the snacks at night. That's my biggest problem, is eating snacks at night. And what I realized is I wasn't stopping that. So let's stop everything before. I'm still eating snacks at night. Like we ate some chocolate, we ate some popcorn, we had some
You had
Taco Bell. So it wasn't like
There's a big stretch between some chocolate and Taco Bell, right?
I know that I'm not going to stop that, or that's the most difficult stuff for me. That 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock stuff. When we're watching TV, we're just chilling out with the kids. That's the hardest part for me. So I said, okay, well, if I can't stop that, or apparently I can't stop that because I keep trying and I don't, let's just stop everything before 5 o'clock and let that go for now, because then that's still like a 18-hour fast or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna. There's a couple of things you said earlier, Dan, I want to touch on, but I think it's a good teaching moment for everyone here and as well who's going to watch this on the replay, right? So, kind of taking the approach of, I know this, let's call it the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the snacking time is not where I want it to be, but in the interim of, and please correct me if I misinterpret anything. In the interim, I'm going to extend my fast till from noon till 5 as sort of a counterbalance. So that's like what's one approach. That's the approach you're doing now. And then so, again, just more of a teaching moment for everyone is like the alternative. I mean, there's no one or two or whatever, right? It's a spectrum. One alternative could be, maybe having more calories, healthy calories, nutrient dense calories earlier so that you're satisfied so that you maybe don't get triggered for those snacks later on. Unless there's something, it's a deeper issue we can't unpack right now, right? But it could be that, hey, when I sit down, it's kid time, and it's like, it's a psychological trigger to have like the snack. And that's a different thing altogether, as opposed to like a calorie deficit nutrient need.
Totally more of a psychological thing than
Yeah.
anything. I think that I've worked hard, almost like I've earned it, and I don't want to deny myself that. So I just go, you know what? Screw it. I'm having some chips.
I
Yeah.
think for seeing him and the kids, a big trigger is the TV. Like, so it's like they'll turn on the TV, sit down, then it's like, oh, you need a snack. But if we can get the TV off, like, 2 hours before bed, it kind of takes away for me too, if I see the kids are watching something and sometimes they make popcorn or something, then I'll want to eat popcorn. So I think it's like the TV is a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same.
It was interesting because,
It's a goal too.
yeah. Thanks for sharing. It was interesting because, Melissa said chocolate, and then Dan, you said chocolate and popcorn. And then the very last thing you said is chips. It was like, okay, now we've got a big spectrum of like snacks here, right? So again, it becomes maybe you have the snack, but what's the choice of snack, right? Again, there's a difference. Again, there's no right or wrong, and there's no judgment on my part. It's like, there's Halloween candy, milk chocolate versus, like an 85% dark chocolate, right?
Yeah.
But
Then
that
there's
doesn't
like
taste as good.
there's Eva, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Right. Then there's a difference between like, and then forget, we're going to talk about organic later, but let's just throw that out for a window.
Right.
Like, plain popcorn, air popcorn versus, caramel. I'm not saying you're eating this, Dan, or Melissa, or the kids or whatever, but like, caramel covered popcorn or popcorn with like the flavor that you shake on, Parmesan cheese or whatever type of thing. There's a difference there. And then, like, is it some oven baked crackers or something type, whatever, pita chip versus Doritos, right? So again, it's a spectrum. And is it, and another thing, again, outside of what I want to spend time on today, but things like, are you a salty or a sweet person? Is it like, are you a crunch or a soft? Is it like, I just need the crunch when I'm eating or watching TV? I need the crunch. How do I replace that? Or I need the sweet. How do I replace that? That type of thing. And then to your point, Eva, is hey, it takes time, but like, oh, I can't even eat like regular chocolate now. Just like, ugh. But I'll be the first minute too. If I go like 95 or above, I'm like, ugh, like 80, 85 is my sweet spot. It's like too gross sweet to me, or it's like too bitter, and then I can't go higher. So,
Great.
yeah. Anyway, sorry, Dan, did you want to retort or comment?
Chocolate, yeah, I like 70%. If we're gonna have chocolate, it's gonna be, well, Melissa's dad did bring
Yeah.
Reese's Pieces.
He
which
brought
was
so many
great.
things from Canada, so
But
that's the problem.
no, I mean, you're right. That's it. So what I'm taking away from this is a very good point. We had air popcorn with butter and nutritional yeast. And, that's I think a healthy choice for me in the evening, as opposed to the chips or anything else. The only reason I had Taco Bell is because Maverick ordered it and he offered me a taco. I'm not going to say no to a taco. So, but anyways, I think those better choices at night are a good way for me to go. Look, I'm probably not gonna psychologically not have it. It's not a calorie thing. It's but anyways, yeah. Popcorn air popped with a little bit of butter and nutritional yeast, I think is probably my best option. So I can probably go with that instead of other options.
Yeah. This just reminds me, and this is not a suggestion, and we will be talking about supplements next week, but on Fridays and Saturdays, it's typically if we're not doing other things, it's like movie night, and my kids will do the popcorn thing as well, but I'll throw in their vitamins in their popcorn bowl, so they like have to they can't get the second bowl of popcorn until their vitamins are eaten, so that's the way I make them have their supplements. So
Yeah.
just sharing that as a tip. All right, let's yeah, no, that's great. Everyone made, I think all three of you kind of had some, I don't know what's what I'm looking for. Not negative comments, that's not, none of you did, but like that kind of like, well, I'm not quite there, or I could have been better. And like, again, it's good to be aware, but let's celebrate the things you did do over the last 2 weeks and the changes you did make. I think that's the bigger piece. And again, for anyone watching the replay as well, celebrate the changes you did make over the last couple of weeks. Again, like I said to Eva's a moment ago, it's the small incremental steps built up over time that's really going to make the difference. It's not the drastic something I do for 2 weeks and then I can't sustain it, or 60 days or whatever type of thing. All right, so we are going to talk about very briefly here. So again, this is a bit more of a kind of a teaching kind of lesson today. Share my screen here. So we're going to talk about being mindful. So actually, it kind of comes into what we're just talking about a little bit with Dan as well. So here's a tip that I just recently kind of found as well. You triple. Studies have shown that a person, or the average person, will triple their odds of eating healthier the next day when they write down what they're going to eat the next day. Like, so in the nighttime, it was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have this for breakfast and whatever at this time. And when you kind of plan it, and like it might go sideways, but just the fact of writing it down and thinking about it the night before of what you're going to eat actually, again, triples the odds that you will actually stick to that healthy eating that you do. And the reason for this is your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision, where all your decision making processes happen. You know, it's part of the brain that holds our highest goals and our intentions. And that's where that happens. So using visualization, again, what I'm going to eat tomorrow, is very powerful for both the body and the brain. Also, mindful eating can help reduce stress and actually optimize digestion, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes as well. And there's also something to be said, you know, and it kind of came up a little bit as well in an earlier session. There's something to be said for, you know, that moment of awareness and being aware in the moment of the food and drink that we're consuming. And again, you know, maybe focus on, you know, how the food makes us feel and the signals that the food is sending to our body about taste, satisfaction, fullness, you know, et cetera. So again, you know, I'll just share what Dan said earlier, you know, the psychological part, it's like, hey, we're sitting down for TV, the kids are doing their thing. It's like, want to do something, want to feel, it's not about the calories, it's not about the nutrients, just want to feel that satisfaction of something. So then let me just admit Ariel in, feel the satisfaction of something. So then again, it's just back to the healthier choice. You know, Dan said the air popped popcorn with a little bit of butter and that type of thing. So that's what I wanted to share about mindfulness, or being not mindfulness, being mindful around our nutrition. Hey Ariel, how are you today, my friend?
Good. Late.
No worries.
I couldn't find the link.
Oh, 2 weeks disappeared, bottom of your
I know.
email pile. Yeah. Did I send the link? Oh, I didn't. I figured you guys have it. So when I sent a reminder this morning, but anyway, so yeah, Ariel, we just got into it, and you'll have to just catch the first little bit in the on the replay here. So, and if we have some time at the end here, I'd love to get your take. This is what we basically we started with sharing, you know, what everyone had implemented in the 2 weeks, the changes they had done, and that sort of thing. So we'll circle back with you on that, or we'll catch you on Thursday in the Q&A. So let me just share my screen again. So let's talk about amino acid deficiency. So this has come up a couple times, amino acids, in the last couple weeks of classes when we've talked about protein. Again, really protein, or how our body needs, it's not the protein. It's like protein is really made up of amino acids. It's the amino acids that our body really needs. So amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and the proteins are the engines of life. Most of our organs and muscles are made up of amino acids. The neurotransmitters that create your brain's reality are made up of amino acids. Your body makes over 7,000 critical amino acid combinations called peptides. So again, multitude of different amino acids, different and arrangements are called peptides, and huge research in peptides for various health things. And for any of you who watched some of the summit that I ran in December, we had a couple different guest speakers talking about peptides. So your body combines the 20 types of amino acids in the body, which signals and activates thousands of critical functions in your body. So again, amino acids, very important, i.e. protein, very important. There are two potential dangers with proteins and amino acids. One, an overload of undigested proteins, and two, an amino acid deficiency. So unless you're breaking the protein down into amino acids and transporting those amino acids through the intestinal tract and then assimilating them into the body, they're useless and potentially even dangerous. So what am I saying here? I'm saying is that we can eat all the protein we want, and you know, again, and depending on the population, what your goals are, you know, your lifestyle, stage of life, etc. You know, protein is very important. I'd say I would suggest protein in general is important for everyone, but again, extra protein is going to depend on where you're at and those goals and life stages. But if you're not breaking them down into the amino acids and use them, then and for most people, it's just going to go out as waste, then there's a problem there. And you're not getting the protein that you actually think, even if you're eating your 2 chicken breasts or your salmon or whatever the case may be. And an undigested protein is a serious toxin. So many deadly allergic reactions are caused by undigested proteins that the body identifies as an allergen. And then the immune system overreacts in order to combat it. So again, we talked about inflammation a couple of weeks back. How does eating certain foods manifest itself in you? Inflammation, and inflammation comes in different forms. It could be puffiness, it could be acne, all sorts of things that we talked about. So again, I talked about gluten for myself. I talked about the beta casein protein. So again, if my body is not breaking these down into the amino acids to be usable, so they're again cause inflammation for me. So again, just to be aware of these things. So one factor of aging is the loss of something called proteostasis. So the human body contains around 20,000 different proteins, including 7,000 peptides, which again are different combinations of amino acids. The maintenance and management of these proteins is what's called proteostasis. These proteins and peptides do very specific functions in the body. And when these functions decline in potency, it can lead to other health problems. So essentially, when our amino acids, or the breakdown of protein to the amino acids and them not functioning properly can lead to additional health issues. Proteostasis ensures that the proteins and peptides are produced and folded appropriately before they travel to the target location in the body. Proteostasis stabilizes your proteins and keeps your cells properly functioning. Cellular proteostasis is key to ensuring successful development, healthy aging, resistance to environmental stressors, and to minimize the damage by pathogens such as viruses. So another factor of aging is something called enzymatic depletion. So the depletion of enzymes in our body. Enzymes do over 25,000 different functions in the human body, everything from thinking to blinking. Now, Dr. Edward Howell theorized that humans have an enzyme bank account that gets depleted as we get older. This makes sense when we correlate it to the increase in digestive issues that comes with age. Having fewer enzymes and less HCl, or stomach acid, all lead to bloating, gas, and other digestive issues. This leads to a negative cycle of effects. First, it leads to less protein breakdown, which means the body gets fewer amino acids. And amino acids are the key building blocks from those 20,000 proteins and 7,000 peptides, as I just mentioned, that your body assembles to make you function properly. Eventually, certain functions of the body decline and then cease. Then this creates another negative cascade of events that can lead to serious health issues. So what am I saying here is that, and I think we all understand this, that the body is one system, right? It's not just our brain, it's not just our heart, it's not just our digestive system, right? We're all one, all part of one being, all systems joined together, and that improper digestion of our protein into the amino acids and having a deficiency in the enzymes that helps breaks that down has a cascading effect throughout our health. And again, Dr. Howell, theorized that this could be a correlation with our premature aging of how much enzymes we have and our use of amino, our breakdown of protein into amino acids and our use of amino acids. Now, most people diets have almost no enzymes. So why? So every time you cook food, this was a new one to me. I not new to me. I thought the threshold was a bit higher, but this threshold is a little bit lower. So every time you cook food with a heat higher than 114 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 degrees Celsius, all enzymes in the food die. So every time before I move on. So if you microwave something, even if you cook something, like you bake it, right? What are you baking at? We're usually baking things at like 350, 325. I had the threshold, and sometimes, just to get the right, depending on what you're cooking, of course, the right crispiness, the right texture, right? You have to have a certain temperature. When you're I have always taken the approach of when I was reheating something, you're like, oh, leftover this or whatever, assuming you have the time, of course, um, I'd go lower and like slower and lower temperature. So I thought the threshold was kind of like 325, like stay 325 and under, even though something might say, oh, put it to 375, 400, 425, whatever. And, this Dr. Howell's saying 114, which is much lower, half or less. So anyway, I haven't really seen that anywhere else, and I'm not sure if that's generally accepted, but I think point being, I think the still takeaway is when we overheat our foods, certainly deep frying, anything deep fried, right, is going to be well above those. I'm not sure. I think you're getting like the 400 to 600 degree range when you deep fry something. Errol shaking her head, so I think she got me on that one. So yeah, you're certainly kind of destroying any uh, enzymes and any of the health properties that the food might have when you deep fry it or you cook it at a very high temperature. Every time food is sprayed with pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides, the enzymes in the food die. Um, that might be a little bit drastic. I would say they're certainly affected. I don't know if they're completely wiped out, but certainly affected. Every time you cook food, you need to use your own body's enzymes supply to digest the food into utilizable biomaterials. So what we're saying here is that when we overcook the food, and the enzymes are no longer present, we have to use more of our body's enzymes to digest, and this can potentially lead, at least Dr. Howell is theorizing, can lead to our depleting our own enzymes over time because we've overcooked our food. So one way to get enzymes in our diet is to eat organic raw food. Now, again, this isn't feasible for most people. Again, it's going to depend where you live, lifestyle, all this sort of thing. But even if everything was perfect and you lived on your own farm and everything, like, I don't think most people can actually get away with a raw, organic or otherwise, let's just assume organic, a raw diet of everything. I don't think that's, maybe our hunter-gatherer ancestors from 10,000 years ago, maybe, or in a clean environment. I don't think that's feasible nowadays, and certainly many people who are on like a raw vegan type of diet, like, depending where they come from. If you're going from McDonald's and Twinkies every day to a raw vegan diet, you have tremendous health benefits, but at some point that peters out and then it goes down because you're not getting proteins and the amino acids and stuff like that. And I'm kind of going a little bit off talk here, but what I'm trying to say is that I think we have to try and make the best choices we can, but going to a completely raw organic diet is just not feasible for like 99.999% of the people. So more of a, just to kind of be aware. Again, he theorized our body has a limited amount of enzymes, again, often referred to as our enzyme potential, and that the length of life is inversely related to the enzyme potential. And Dr. Howell, again, did some testing on this on, insects and small animals and that sort of thing. So essentially, this means the more enzymes you have in your body, the longer you can live, and the more capacity you have, your more capacity your body has to perform biological functions. Again, this is theorized, some testing. I would not say this is generally accepted, but more of a something to be aware of and maybe keep in the back of our mind. What's fascinating is that longevity studies, have shown some correlation between eating less and longer lifespan. So again, so not necessarily fasting. There is science on fasting. We did talk about, but just eating less in general. Less. In Okinawa, which is one of the original blue zones, they kind of have a saying. I'm not going to translate the Chinese, but essentially, like, push yourself away from the table when you're 80% full is basically what it translates to, just eating less. So there is some correlation there that has been shown in science. So then Dr. Howell again is like, trying to kind of theorize it could be that consuming less food than our bodies just less food in general actually preserves our body's enzyme reserves, and then thus potentially maybe helps us have longevity and live longer. So very fascinating. I don't think the science is completely settled on this yet, but it's very, very interesting to me. But all that's being said, I'm a huge proponent of enzymes and other digestive aids. And I think they can be some of the biggest game changers for someone, to consume to improve their health span and their lifespan, et cetera. And I'm gonna talk about that briefly here. We're gonna talk about supplements next week, so I can get more into it. But I'll just really briefly just some of the things I take. Would that be valuable? Just what I do as a Deepak practice? Yes. Okay. So again, essential amino acids. So our body produces them. We eat protein. Our body produces them. We eat, whatever protein source. We hope it breaks down into the amino acids we need. For myself, for my own goals, I am a proponent of supplementing with amino acids, essential amino acids. So these are what's are essential for our body. So there's one brand that I like here. It's called Keon, and has the essential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, the 9 essential amino acids. So the reason I like this company is because they do a lot of research on the right ratios of all of them, and whenever new science comes out, they research the science, analyze the science, and if need be, they change the formula. They don't rest on their laurels. The bottle I have is, I think, version 2. Or the batch I have is version 2, so they're continuously improving. So that's why I like, and they have clean ingredients and that sort of thing. So that's why I like that company. I have no affiliation with them or anything like that. But what I want to share is, so I am actively trying to, well, not only maintain muscle mass, which is important for healthy aging, I'm actually trying to put on a little bit of muscle mass, as I'm here, nearing middle age. Actively trying to get stronger and put on muscle. So I am supplementing with amino acids. I would love to do it, every day, multiple times a week. Multiple times a day, every day. But it's a bit cost prohibitive. So the days that I work out, when I'm actually breaking down my muscle by strength training, I am supplementing. Not only I'm having my protein, I'm eating my eggs, I'm eating my steak or whatever is on the menu that day, but I'm also throwing in extra amino acids. So again, that's just my practice. I'm not saying that's necessary for anyone, but that's what I do, and that's why I use that. And then I take 2 digestive enzymes, and I'll just share really quickly about them. So the first one is, I've already shared this about my I'm not celiac, but I'm gluten sensitive. So I take this one. Can you guys read that? Gluten Guardian. So it helps break down, again, gluten is a protein, right? So, and my body is not clearing it properly. That's why it's a stressor to my body. So I take this, this digestive enzyme helps break down the gluten protein, so I can either use it or more likely just pass it out. So whenever I'm having, and it's not perfect, right? And the gluten's hidden all over the place, but hey, when I was sick and obese, pizza was my favorite food, and hey, guess what? Pizza is still my favorite food. And we have it regularly because it's my daughter's favorite food as well. But I'll, pop 1 or 2 of these when we have pizza, just to, help break down the gluten that comes from the crust type of thing. So that's one digestive enzyme. The other one that I take is this one here called Enzymes. And again, it has a number, gosh, what is this? 15, 20 different enzymes here to break down protein into its component amino acids. So again, I would just love to take it all the time, but again, cost prohibitive. So when I'm having a heavy protein meal, so I'm having red meat, I'm having a steak, I'm having ribs, whatever, something like that, I'll pop a couple of those to ensure that large amount of protein that I'm eating is properly being broken down, so I can pull all the amino acids out that I want, give my body a little bit of a kickstart and ensure that, so that I can maximize and utilize all those amino acids from that meal. They're not getting wasted. They're not going out through my waste. Again, those are for my goals. And again, and again, it's going to depend on people's goals and life stage, et cetera, et cetera. So, and what I will just say, so these are from the same company by Optimizers. I do have an affiliation with them, just be full transparency. I have, and if you're interested in these products, and they have other products as well, they have a ton of products. I can get you 10% off if you're interested. Just, you can reach out to me afterwards, or I'll send it, whatever. It's not a plug, but I do have a discount for that. So that's what I wanted to share about enzymes and amino acids. So let me, how are we doing for time here? Oh, we're doing really good for time. Oh, I already talked about that. Okay, so I want to talk briefly about, eating organic, just really briefly. We can again, we're good for time. So we'll, Ariel, you get a chance to share, and we'll probably have a little bit of Q&A as well. So, so just according to the EPA, so Environmental Protection Agency in the US, 12 of the most used pesticides used in our food have ingredients known to cause cancer. This is just stated. If you believe anything the government says, then you might as well believe the EPA, which is essentially a government organization. Organic foods have more nutrients and antioxidants than conventional grown produce. More importantly, you'll avoid a host of chemicals that frankly, we don't really know the consequences of. We certainly don't know the long-term consequences of many of the things that our food, et cetera, or our soil is sprayed with. And if you can't afford, organic foods, then I would certainly suggest avoiding the dirty dozen, which are the crops that have the most pesticides, et cetera, on them. So, and it changes, and sometimes it's the dirty 15 or whatever, but typically, and they sometimes go up and down, but essentially these are ones in kind of rank order of sort of worst, most egregious to least egregious, but still they're all bad. Strawberries, spinach, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, and sweet bell peppers. Those are the vegetables and fruits that get the most pesticides put on them, and or are difficult to clean. You can't really clean a strawberry, right? If you're trying to scrub a strawberry, you just destroy it, right? You can rinse it off a little bit, but are you really, an apple or something, you can like at least scrub the skin a little bit. I know I don't do this practice myself. I know some people will get food grade hydrogen peroxide, dilute it, and they'll wash all their fruit and vegetables in a bath of hydrogen peroxide before they eat it. I don't think that's a bad practice. It's an extra step, it's an extra work. I'm not going to get my kids to do it anyway, so I'd be doing it also. It's not something I do, but I do know people that do that. Yeah, and then I would say also things that have a peel, like let's use a banana. I would never, things that if you're not eating the peel, like if you have to take your choice of like where do I buy organic, where I don't I buy organic, bananas, mangoes, something with a thick skin or a skin that you're not eating, I'd say don't bother buying organic. Excuse me, if you have to make a choice, but and sometimes we don't have a choice, right? But if you do have the choice, lettuce, your berries, etc., things that you're eating the skin, try and go organic there if you can. And then just kind of related to that is about polyphenols and antioxidants. Now, while the data is kind of preliminary here, or the science kind of preliminary, there is some science that shows that the polyphenols and antioxidants found in blueberries, green tea, goji berries, and even spirulina can increase circulating bone marrow derived stem cells. So again, just by eating these foods to help your body produce your own stem cells from your bone marrow. So I know kind of related, different topic, but kind of related, but I just kind of came across that and I couldn't find where to put that in the course. And I'm like, I want to share this. So I stuck it in here. So that's kind of the material that I had for today. And I knew it was kind of a little bit of a heavy Deepak talking one today, but I'd love to get your guys' take on anything I shared or questions or anything follow-up, because I kind of just rambled on there for a bit. So we'll have a sip here. I'll throw it back to you guys.
I was wondering what you thought of all these meal kit places where you can buy the food and prepare it. Is there any
Great
one you
question.
would recommend?
And what angle
Yeah.
are you like coming from? Is it from a nutritional point of view, or what's your
Nutritional and just ease of preparing too, right? Because I find my husband does pretty well all the cooking, but if I want to start eating healthy, I should probably do my own, right? So, sometimes it feels like I don't have the time and it's such a big ordeal figuring out a shopping list. So I'm almost wondering if those are a good option for,
Yeah,
like dinners.
I think you get it. I've never really used them. I know people that do use them occasionally, and I see them around and advertise and everything. I don't have firsthand knowledge, Eva, but
Okay.
for my take on them is I think there's a great range of the meals that they offer, from more healthier choices to probably just as crummy as going somewhere to some restaurant or something like that, right? Like probably not like McDonald's, right, or whatever, but like
Right.
a lot of restaurants and even a lot of you know from what we're paying out of our pocket, but you would say, oh, top end restaurants, they're still cooking with bad oils and et cetera, things like that.
Mhm.
So they do have healthier choices, and I know some of them, and I know there's a lot more variety in the U.S. than there is in Canada for some of these services. Some of them are more customized, or they cater to a certain demographic, whether it be like, again, vegan or vegetarian or paleo or what have you, so if one was more lean that way, then, there's more options you can, they're going to be more catered to that. The other thing, again, depending on what one's goals were for, well, whether it be, calorie intake, body composition, longevity, whatever that might be, right? And then how you want it to eat, do you have the options with that meal plan? Can you,
Right.
and again, it's like, and again, I don't have firsthand knowledge. Can you say like, hey, I want all I'm just going to make something up here. This is not recommendation. I want all, just the paleo meals, and okay, you only have 3 options for paleo meals. So, okay, can I just give me triple order that? Or is it like, yeah, you get a different meal every week or every day of the week, and it just goes through the rotation. It's like, well, these 3, I don't want to eat these 3. So again, how's the flexibility in ordering that? So that's kind of my take on that. Now, as far as I think the other part of your question, as a way to try and move our nutrition or our diet into something healthier from what maybe you're doing now, and I don't know what your husband cooks for you or what have you, but if that, it sounds like, if I'm interpreting what you said, that might be a way to at least here and there throw in a couple healthier, again, using air quotes here, healthier meals, then that's a good strategy. That's a good strategy to try and get in. And again, it depends. Some are delivered, some are, pretty much minimal prep, and then some are like, here's all the ingredients, and like it's basically teaching you how to cook, right? Like here's all the ingredients, here's the recipe card, do this, that. So again, it depends what you're looking for, right? And maybe some combination of sampling a little bit of all of them. Maybe, getting one of those ones where it's more of a like, here's the recipe card and how to make this healthy dish. Is like, oh, okay. And now then that's a process maybe between both you and your husband of like, hey, hey, this is very similar to the dish I make now, but here's some different choices that they gave us or some different ingredients. We can make our own substitutions, and then you don't need the meal service plan once you learn how to do that. So that's one potential. Or it's just like, hey, 2 days a
Right.
week, we're just going to order this thing because it's less salt, less fat, less whatever the case may be, however you judge healthy. That's a good thing too. So I don't, I think it can play a role. Obviously, I don't have firsthand knowledge. My mom was a chef. I learned how to cook. So we just do mostly our own stuff. And I understand that's not everybody, but I think that's a good thing. That's a great question. Thank you for bringing that. That's a great question. So was that
Okay.
helpful? My
Yeah,
my
it
rambling on
does.
that?
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of being aware of what ingredients they're putting in there, because I know you always got to watch. They like to put a lot of salt sometimes, so you got to, kind of make sure they, let you know what exactly they put in there. So
Yeah. Have we
yeah,
talked about salt yet in this
I
course?
don't know. Yeah, if not, I'd like you
Ariel's
to.
shaking her head like and opening her eyes like, no, you haven't. So I'm okay. Well, Ariel, you're getting salt right now. So there is a difference between table salt, NaCl, right? Sodium chloride. Back to our chemistry days, and like real salt, like real sea salt that's harvested from, you know, wherever type of thing, that has other minerals, that has, you know, other trace minerals, right? You know, like manganese and this and that, you know, there's a huge difference there. So when you have all these, you know, the American Center or whatever, pick your country for heart health and diabetes and stroke and blah, blah, and keep your sodium to this and the DASH diet and all that. They're talking about sodium. They're talking about table salt. And yes, I would agree. We need to watch that. But I think there's a big difference, and there's a big difference how our body reacts to real salt. And there's a genetic component too, which I'm not going to get into. It's beyond outside the scope of this course, but some people have the genetic makeup that they actually need a lot more salt than others, and some need less. I have the genetics. It's like I have to watch not salt. I have to watch my sodium. It's actually bad for my cardiovascular health. But I don't use table salt. Now, do I use, you know, high quality sea salt or mine's, yeah, I guess it's technically sea salt on all my food? Yes, I do, but I never use table salt. And you know, unless I'm stranded somewhere and I need something flavorful in a pinch or whatever, but that's a rare occasion. Um, so to your point of why that came into my mind, Eva, is like, yes, anything packaged, canned, whatever, is all sodium, and there's a big difference between sodium and real salt. So, and one of my favorites, and then there's a lot of good brands. The one I like, it's quality, you know, quality and cost perspective is like just perfect. Like high quality, and it's not like ridiculously expensive. Is Redmond's real salt, and you can get it here in Alberta. You can get it at Superstore. Obviously, that's from Redmond, Utah, so it's certainly all over the U.S. as well. Skitches, I have no idea if it's available, and you know, you can probably order it on Amazon actually, whatever. But it's again, price to quality it's like top three. Like you talk to any health foodie nutritionist, blah blah blah, it's always one or two or top three for sure of all the brands. So, and luckily it's available where I have. So yeah, that's what we use in our household. And you can actually see it has all these different flecks of color in it because it has trace minerals of all these whatever 20 whatever 15 20 different trace minerals of other things that you need to get a little bit of as well. So yeah, great question. Your
How
original
about
question.
pink salt? Like that's what we usually use. You know, it's like
Yeah, like Himalayan pink salt. Yeah, yeah, also great quality. The only thing with that one to be aware of, if again, why is it pink, is because it had the where it was mined from has higher levels of iron. That's what makes it red. So if you were iron sensitive or had some sort of condition around high or low, well, more so high levels of iron, then maybe something to be aware of. But if that's never come up, I wouldn't be concerned with that. So yeah, Himalayan pink salt, great. Celtic gray salt, Celtic salt, you know,
okay.
good. Yeah. And again, kind of when I talked about, like, it's not quite as extreme as when I talked about the olive oil and avocado oil, right? Like, you know, if you can get like a big 4 liter jug, like quality places don't sell 4 liter jugs of like olive oil, right? So it's just kind of, it's lesser to do with salt, but again, you'll have your like chain brands, sea salt, and it's like, that's a little too cheap. Like, I don't know if that's really real, you know, type thing. Like, again, quality, the one I use is not that expensive. From regular table salt, it seems like, oh my God, that's 4 times as much, but it's really not that expensive on an actual dollar basis. When you see some of these like big box chain store sea salt, and you're like, I don't know, that seems a little too cheap. So again, it kind of makes me question. So, but anyway. But great question, Melissa. Yeah. Do you know the brand that you guys use? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, but like I have to grind it a lot of the time. Like it's in like the big pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grind it.
I can go look with the.
Oh yeah, I can go. Oh, hold on, I'll go.
You can move on to the next thing while we go look for.
Sure. Yeah. No worries. Any other comments or questions? We got 15 minutes left. Ariel, I'd love to, while Melissa's doing that, I'd love to hear how was the last 2 weeks of implementation. I know you're giving me a look like, I don't want to talk about it. Don't ask me. Don't call on me, teacher. Don't call on me. You're muted, my friend. You got to unmute yourself.
was fine. It was good. I got caught up on my replays I needed to listen to, and we spent what did we spend 5 or 6 days with my daughter's family, and didn't worry much about diet there. I'm trying to think what we ate. I don't even know what we ate. I am not keeping a food diary. I've started one 3 times, and I lose days and don't remember where I was and that kind of thing. But I am trying to be cognizant of how I respond to certain things, like things that like milk, for example. No, it doesn't sit well with me, but I've really noticed the last couple times it doesn't sit with me, doesn't at all. And that's very sad because I like milk. And I had a big glass of chocolate milk mixed with white milk, so it wasn't so thick, and it did not sit with me at all. So that was confirming for what I already knew. Something else. We came away from a meal. Where was it? And it's like the whole meal. I mean, every single bit of it was right in the middle of my abdomen. And it didn't feel right. I knew it was what I'd eaten, and it was probably, I'm trying to think what it was. It was probably McDonald's. And it was the best McDonald's French fries we've had in forever. And it just sat there, and it was so uncomfortable. And I went, oh no, come on.
So Ariel, quick question. How did that feel? You said just sat there. Was it like a hardness, like a filling, bloaty type, or pain? Like what was
it? Was just I don't like to describe it this way, but the only way I can describe it is just a wad of food in the middle of my tummy, not going anywhere. Not like I have noticed when I have French fries that we've gotten out, that they don't swallow easily. And it may just be my body saying, what are you doing, trying to put this down your throat again? Because I think the body does that sometimes. But we had been traveling all day, and we're on the way home and stopped at McDonald's. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were the best. They were the best. They were hot. They were crispy. They were everything they're supposed to be. But we all know, when you were talking about temperature, I heard somewhere that when you fry potatoes at such a high temperature, it does terrible things to them. It changes their makeup altogether, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was feeling them. They just didn't go anywhere. And the next day, we came home. We had another hour and a half or so to drive. So I don't remember waking up sick or anything. I'm sure my body got rid of it, but I just remember sitting in the car going, oh my goodness, this didn't go anywhere. It's sitting there, not moving. And this was just very uncomfortable. There wasn't a lot of pain. There wasn't a lot of, I don't think there was a lot of bloating. It just didn't move.
Yeah,
which says something.
Yeah, no, it does. A couple of takeaways from what you said there, Ariel. So like the first thing is, sounds like you were driving and you were traveling, whatever. So I think again, it's that lack of movement, right?
Yes.
And it's not even just a lack of movement, like you're not walking, you're not doing daily tasks. It's like even the position you're sitting is not even allowing for proper digestion. Not to get, we don't have time to go down this rabbit hole, but even like the way sort of, let's call the Western world's toilets, is not actually optimized for how our body works to like actually clear our systems properly. Like really, like squatting is actually a more optimal way. And that's, I don't know if you guys heard of the squatty potty, or basically you could still sit in your regular toilet, but have your like feet propped up. So you kind of mimic that. It actually like opens up the body to actually clear properly. So again, depending on your front seat, back seat, like crammed in, what like, airplane seats, whatever the case, so
And we hadn't even gotten out of the car to go in to get the food. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, we're sitting in the car, we're driving, we drive in, we pick up, we eat, we drive out. We haven't, you're right. You're right. That was probably what happened because I
Yeah,
don't
so,
have
I
that.
mean, it's a body position. It's also lack of movement and
Mhm.
as well. And
For the
but
whole
I do
day.
want to, let's not focus on that part. Let's not gloss over the positive of like the more awareness you've gotten, right? It's like,
Mhm.
hey, I've noticed this. I've noticed about milk. The more cognizant, that you didn't use those words exactly, but essentially that you're becoming more aware. And
Mhm.
I would suggest too, even though you've kind of stopped and spurted with the food log, like just at least keep stop and start and then stitch it all together. And you'll probably, if you do that long enough and you stitch it all together, even with the gaps, you'll probably get a relatively idea of
Yeah.
like what your patterns are, right?
The main idea is I'm taking this course because I know my patterns are good. and I know, oh, I've been around the block a couple times, so I kind of have a basic knowledge of what's really good for you, not good for you. I'm fighting, I am fighting going totally plant-based because I like meat. I
I
do.
like me too.
So
Yep.
I don't want to do that. And um I have my sister is on a carnivore diet and she's never felt so good. And I think, boy, that sounds really nice. However, I don't respond to vegetables like she does. My body responds pretty well when it's plant-based stuff. So it's one of those, you keep getting these clues as we go along. Oh yeah, okay, I better pay attention to that. Oh yeah, that didn't really sit well.
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
that did.
yeah,
So
Ariel, you hit the nail on the head. Like step one is just our self-awareness of these
mhm,
certain things. And
mhm,
that's kind of what we're trying to, cover in this course. And then, when I work with someone one-on-one, you know, like I said, I've done genetic testing. I know this about myself. Like that's what I do with when I work my one-on-one classes. We go really deep to see, like, will a carnivore diet? Yeah, it sounds all great, or vegan or whatever thing sounds all great, but it's like, is that actually going to work for you?
right.
And like from a genetic point of view, lifestyle, cultural, etc. Right? And then you can really go. There's like tons of advanced testing that one can do and etc. So again, that's beyond the scope of this course, but like again, it starts with just awareness and knowing how you feel when you eat things. How does your body respond? Again, even to like how's the bowel movements you have the next day or two, even 2 days later. I just want to show you. Just reminded me about that when you said the milk a few minutes ago. Because we're going to talk about probiotics, we're going to talk about supplements next weekend, and probiotics will be a little bit of part of that. So I know it's probably 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe. Um, they started carrying. I mean, you can always get kefir at like the health food store and stuff like that, right? But they started carrying it at the regular grocery store, right? I was like, oh, okay. And then even like like they'll even like mango flavored kefir and whatever type of thing. Like, oh, okay, maybe I get the kids and my wife to have it too. I was like, okay, let's try and get some more beneficial bacteria in the system. And it's like, it's okay. It's like not something. It's again something you have to kind of build into your lifestyle, right? It's like, okay, every time I do this, I will have a small 2 ounces of kefir, whatever the case may be, right? But as often happens, is like kind of things where it's like, oh, geez, this kefir is going to go bad like tomorrow, whatever. It's like we have like half a thing left. It's like, darn if I'm going to waste money on this expensive kefir, right? So it's like I'm going to have 2 glasses of kefir tonight before I go to bed. Well, I mean, yeah, it's probiotics and healthy bacteria. It's still milk. It's still a milk
Mhm,
product, which
mhm,
does not resonate with me in large quantities. So for sure, I don't remember what time it was, but like woke up in the middle of the night, that total bloating. My stomach was so
mhm,
hard. I thought I was gonna like die. Like I was like, do I have to go to the bathroom? Like go to the bathroom, nothing's happening there. I was like up for like 2 hours. I'm like, God, it must have been just it was the kefir, but it was just more general. It was milk protein. It was the beta casein. My body does not respond to that, and it was just too much. There's a big bolus I sent through 2 glasses of kefir because I was too cheap to let it go be wasted. But anyway, learn my lesson. Anyway, that's laugh at Deepak funny story for today.
And it's not like someone standing over me forcing me to eat any of this. You know, it's not like I'm being forced to eat McDonald's. It's like, oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I'm really hungry. This tastes really good. Food is one of those things that you can't blame anybody else about. I do a lot of the grocery shopping. Um, I I buy because I'm hungry. Go grocery shopping when I'm hungry. That's not a good sign. You know, that's not a good thing to do
No, you
either.
should never go grocery shopping when you're hungry.
Never, never, never. You will come home with stuff. You're going, what in the world was I thinking? And then you don't want to waste it. I go there a lot. But I was gonna. It's interesting to me. One of the things I think, especially when we start talking about diet, is we're also individual. Something that works really well for me won't work really well for somebody else because our bodies and the way our bodies work are really unique. Um, I I wonder about gluten from time to time, but when I eat it, it doesn't seem to bother me. And then I see my sister who goes, "Oh, well, that's a gluten belly." And I'm going, "You don't, I'm not even going there with you, you know? We're not talking about this stuff." She's skinny as a rail. I mean, she is really thin and uh uh what is it? Type 1 diabetic, really skinny, and she doesn't eat right either. So I was going to say, you were talking about temperatures. Everything's supposed to be done in the air fryer now. Well, isn't the air fryer like 400 and some degrees?
Well, hold on, Ariel. First of all, you use the words everything's supposed to be done in the air fryer now. Who said that?
The air fryer company.
Okay,
No,
okay.
no, I was here around Christmas time. No, it was longer than that. A family member got
We
an
don't
air
have an air
fryer.
fryer. I've never, we've looked into it and it was like, and my wife gets all these like tips from people where she works, like, oh, this in the air fryer, this air fryer. We go to Costco, it's on sale. Like, it's like we pretty simple. We have a
Yeah,
same rotation of the same dinner's more variable than any other meal, but the same 40 meals essentially, which is it could be more variety, but like I eat basically the same first meal, like my breakfast at whatever noon, 2 o'clock, the same thing every day, pretty
yeah.
much with slight variations. Like I don't need an air fryer. I just need a pan. I just need a non-stick pan.
When we got one, I got one that's like a toaster oven. And we use the toaster oven more than we use anything just because it's little.
Yeah.
And I got a couple, so I can do, well, baking, like you said, was 350 already. So I can cook in the toaster oven part of it a lot simpler than I can my great big oven. And there's only, I was feeding 13 people not too long ago. Well, now there's only 3. So the size of that as a, I think every day I'm with other people, I hear somebody talking about something they've done in the air fryer. And it was so good and it worked so well and it makes it so easy. And I'm thinking, okay, but we haven't.
Well,
we
here,
haven't done it.
Errol, we got to wrap up for today, but here I'll leave this little. I do want to little talk about Thursday, but this is what I would just say to your last comment there. It's like, again, without trying to like judge other people, it's like when this is so good. I made this in the air fryer. Look at these people. These are the people from a health point of view that you want to emulate.
Mm,
I don't know that answer. That's for you to decide. I don't know who these people
right.
are, right? But there's a lot of people in my kind of close circle that make fantastic things, and like yeah, they make delicious food, like from scratch. But it's like, I can't eat that. That's like a once a quarter, or like once like birthday, once a year type of thing. Is like, yeah, I don't want to be them from a health point of view. I have my goals. We all have our own goals, right? And Eva's goal and Doris's goal and Dan and Melissa's goal and Mary's goal, Ariel's goal, not Deepak's goal, but we all are part of this course for some reason, right? When I'm a healthy age, and right, and these people like air fryer, I was like, yeah, I don't, let keep. I just let's put the right lens on these type of comments or gurus or influence or whatever the case may be. So anyway, Ariel, you missed it. I mean, you'll watch the replay and you'll well, I did say it, but Eva completed her food log. So first bit of Thursday before we get to Q&A, I'm gonna go over her food log as a teaching moment for everyone, and hopefully there's something everyone can glean from that when they look at their own how they're eating from that. So thank you again, Eva, for that. And then you'll just have a regular Q&A on Thursday. So any last question before I let you all go here?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys on Thursday, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Bye.
You too.